Okay, welcome back to Solo Roll Mangging with Dungeon Crawl Classics and Caverns of Thracia. So far we haven't started Caverns of Thracia, but that's changing in this video. We finished up the funnel Grave Robbers of Thracia after going through like 20 some peasants. But we ended up with a selection of 4 that might be capable. We'll see. We're gonna have to go through and do some equipment stuff. I always assume that between a funnel adventure and the start of like the level 1 adventure, like a decent amount of time passes where these characters kind of go out and actually become like a level 1 class. And so as part of that, yeah, I usually let, things get sold, purchases are made, whatever you want to do to get yourself situated as a level 1 character. That's usually how I run it. So we're going to go through and we're going to sell off all these stuff. So the real big question is, can I find a collector of these Thracian coins? I feel like that's pretty unlikely, and I don't think you're really meant to, easily find it. So we can either sell them as 200 gold coins and use that, or I could just lug around these Thracian coins for God knows how long until you eventually find a collector. And, that would just be... I don't know if I want to say it's like a whole side adventure or something, but I feel like you'd have to make it to like some big city, and that's kind of outside the scope of what I want to do here. So I'm just going to sell it as 200 gold. So that means the gold statue is 500, the silver and gold mask is 100, and this is 200. And we're counting the Thracian coins as like a treasure, not as just straight gold. It's not standard currency. I mean, it is gold, I guess. You could melt them down and remint it and it would be fine, but it's not the standard. So I'm going to do my usual thing then of chopping 15% off the value of each. And that's what we end up with for gold value. So 15% of 500 is 75. So we get 425 gold out of that. Okay. We sell the statue. The silver and gold mask, that's 100, so that's worth 85. Which means we're at 510, I think, right? Okay, and then the 200 coins, that's 170. That puts us at 680 gold. Total. Oh, I also have the silver pendants. So those are worth 2 gold each. So that would be 1.7 times 3. I feel like I could do this, but I'll be lazy. So that's 5 gold and 1 silver. That bumps us up to 685 and 1 silver. And then also, because I was a moneylender, I started with 5 gold, 10 silver, 200 copper. So we're just going to add that on right away. Okay. Done. And done. Okay, so we have 690 gold available to us to spend. I think we can ditch the deer pelt at this point and try and get some better equipment. A sailcloth. I don't know if I guess it's a tarp sort of thing. We can ditch the chest though. We'll keep the sack. All right. So as far as DCC is concerned, I think the equipment list is pretty sparse. This is not Axe. Yeah, so, I mean, we could buy a set of half plate for 550. That's could be something we invest in, which would be pretty significant for like Basilicus or Gorso. Like for Gorso, that would bump him up to a 17 AC. And with a shield, that would bump him up to 18 AC. That's pretty solid. It allows him to kind of lead the charge a little bit more, and not put Basilicus at quite as much risk. So I probably lean towards that strat. Yeah, let's do that. So let's deduct 550 plus 10 for the shield, so 560. That puts us at 130 gold remaining. And so we're just gonna... yeah, we'll just change this to half plate. Also give a shield. This is gonna be a +7 bonus, and it's a -7 check penalty and -10 speed. Which is pretty significant. But yeah, 18 AC, 13 hit points. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid, dude. Does put his speed at 20 feet, which is not great. And the check penalty. That applies to checks to climb, jump, balance, swim, move silently, and other such physical activities. Check penalty also applies to wizard and elf spell checks. Clerics can wear whatever, but yes, so Wizard Schmendrick will not be wearing scale mail because that's going to be a -4 to everything. He's pretty much left with padded if he wants to avoid any penalty. And let's be honest, he does want to avoid penalty, so he'll ditch the scale mail and go for padded armor. So that's going to be a +1, no penalty, and a D8 fumble die. Alright. I don't know if he can use shield or not. Our shield does bear a check penalty as well. Yeah, he doesn't really need it. Okay. That's fine, I suppose. Equipment-wise, I think we'll stick with a spear for Gorso. I mean, if he wants to use a shield, there's not like it's much better for a one-handed weapon. I don't think you'll really hit a D10. Dagger does D10 on a backstab. That's pretty good to know. Blackjack does 2d6, but it's subdual. Yeah, you're not really going to beat D8 with a one-handed weapon. But I don't think Basilicus can use a longsword, so we're going to have to ditch that and trade it for a warhammer, which is basically identical in every way, so doesn't change much. We'll just rename it. And I don't think he can use a short bow. No, he can use a sling if he really wanted to, but not a short bow. So we'll throw that over to the thief. I'm pretty sure can use a short bow. Okay. Gorso can also use ranged weapons. Can use a longbow, a crossbow, so on and so forth. So longbow is basically just farther range, and in a dungeon environment, doesn't matter too much. Yeah, it's weird. Okay. So we'll ditch this. I feel like Schmendrick should have some ranged weapon, right? He can use a longbow. Oh, okay. Oh, fine. We'll give him that short bow then. So we don't ditch that. Alright. And then, yeah, Thala is mostly going to use her short bow just because she has, like, 2 hit points. But we'll use the dagger for backstabbing. I think we can ditch the shovel. Yeah, that's all fine. Yeah, that's all fine. Alright, then the rest would just be, like, any other equipment that I want to carry with me. Probably torches and stuff like that. Which are pretty instant. I think we have to buy thieves' tools for the thief, so that's 25 gold. Alright. And yeah, I guess we buy ammo. Comes in set of 20. Alright. That's 5 gold for 20 arrows? Jesus Christ. What the fuck? That's outrageous evaluation. I really want to check axe now just to see. It's not that. Okay, well, I guess I'm spending 15 gold on arrows. We have rope. We probably could do with more rope. I don't see why everyone wouldn't carry rope. You always might need it. So that's 25 copper each. For 50 feet. So let's say we buy 3 sets. That's 75 copper. So 7 silver, 5 copper. Yeah, and everyone's just gonna... So it's 7 silver, 5 copper. Alright. Yeah, oil would be good to have. Who's our best thrower? Well, I guess technically Gorso would be the best thrower. So sure, he'll buy 5 flasks of oil. Because that is 2 silver each, so that's 1 gold. Okay. You never know when you might want to light stuff on fire. Rations? Yeah, theoretically. Also, we didn't buy torches yet. Let's just say everyone's going to carry 6 torches. That's how Axe bundles it. So we'll say 6 torches. So we're buying 6, 12, 18, 23 technically. That's 23 copper. Okay. But yeah, I guess probably we want a few days of rations. We already have a crowbar, so that's good. I probably should buy another flint and steel. Alright, let's buy a total of 12 days of rations, so 3 each. So that's 60 copper, plus another flint and steel, 75 copper. So that's 7 silver. Fuck it, I'll just spend a gold. We'll buy a second flint and steel. And then rations. Three days worth. That's fine. Alright, I think we're good. I mean, we could buy a donkey or something, but yeah, I'm largely happy with our equipment here. Yeah, let's do it. Alright, so the bad news is, like I said, I don't have a PDF of Caverns of Thracia. So that means for those visually oriented people that watch these videos, it's going to be a bit of a bummer for you. But I have the book, and I will be just reading out loud everything. So, right. So like I said, this book contains the original printing, which was written for, I don't know. Was it written for BX? I think. I think I'm gonna say that it probably was. I don't know if we have. The big section of this book goes over like the history of it and a lot of like interviews and stuff like that. It's a pretty, you know, like I said, kind of a landmark dungeon. I guess I could have just Googled it instead of looking through the book, but I looked through the book. So it contains the original publication from like, you know, 1979 or whatever, or something like that. And it's kind of interesting to look at it and compare it with the DCC republishing. But we're mostly obviously going to be working off the DCC version because that's what we're playing. So it starts with an introduction, like a history of Thracia and what the caverns are. I'm not going to read through the whole thing for you, but basically there was a long time ago, there was a history, there was a kingdom of reptile men, lizard men. And so they built the original caverns, like eons ago. Then humans came in and ruined everything, of course, as always. And humans pretty much built a kingdom, the kingdom of Thracia, on top of the old ancient caverns. And then they started kind of delving into the caverns, and they built, like, palaces down there and stuff. And they used a bunch of beast men as, like, slave labor to help them build out their kingdom. And eventually the beast men revolted, and Thracia was kind of destroyed. And yeah, Thracia kind of just got swept aside in history. And so now there's a number of factions that are within the caverns. And so you get a whole section on the various factions. So there's a bunch of cultists that live in the caverns. They worship Thanatos, the god of death. And no one really likes the cultists. Like, none of the other factions really like them at all. But they are humans. They speak, you know, modern Thracian and stuff, so they can be communicated with. There's the Dog Brothers, which are like canine men. So they're a faction of beastmen that are just kind of always hostile. There's gnolls, which make up the backbone of the Minotaur King's forces. So the Minotaur King leads all the beastmen. So the gnolls are like the main army of him, for him. They're not as openly hostile as the Dog Brothers, but they're up there. There's Hamadryads, dwelling deep within the caverns. They're skittish, but they could be friendly, especially if you have an elf, which we don't. There's the Lizard Men, you know, the original inhabitants of the caverns, like the, you know, descendants of them. They are they have an uneasy truce with the varied races of beastmen, but they're in a constant state of conflict with the local tribesmen and cultists. So they are generally hostile, of course, to any humans then, or, you know, adventuring parties, but it says they're intelligent enough not to openly attack a group, which obviously outpowers them. There's also Lizardmen mercenaries that actually work for the Minotaur King, and they're a little bit less openly hostile. There's the Minotaurs, who of course are quite hostile, and then there's tribesmen. So these are just like, I guess when Thracia was coming crashing down, there were a bunch of barbarian tribes that came in and wiped out the, you know, the Thracians and stuff. So there's still barbarian tribesmen that kind of live in the caves and stuff. And they are basically hostile to everybody else. And they also don't really trust any other humans. So it says they range from suspicious to hostile. And they especially don't like the cultists. So there's a lot of different factions. We'll see how much that comes into play. We have a big rumor table, so we could roll on the rumor table just for fun. See how much it actually matters. So each character gets to roll a d7 modified by their luck score. So I guess we'll roll for Basilicus. So he got a 5. He gets to roll twice on the rumor table, which is a d24. Our fancy dice roller doesn't have these fun. Okay, so he got 10, which is the Hall of Laughing Skulls leads to riches untold, which I, as the DM, can see is a false rumor. And 21, a remnant of an ancient pre-human civilization may yet exist deep in the bowels of the earth, which is true. That's the lizard men. Okay, next would be Schmendrick, who has -1. He gets to roll twice as well. Okay, he got 11 and 24. 11 is beware of statuary. That's all it says, and it's true. You should beware of statuary. And 24, the PC has learned to speak the ancient Thracian language of the local tribes, granting a 65% chance of speaking clearly to any tribesman. If the comprehension roll is unsuccessful, roll on table TR3 for interpretation results. Interesting. Okay, well that's pretty handy. I guess Schmendrick will put he speaks ancient Thracian. Pick that up somewhere. Gorso rolled a 7. He gets to roll 3 times. 9, 24, 17. He also speaks ancient Thracian. What are the odds of that? Nine says, for safety, seek ye the pool of the watery wonders. And that's true. So we do want to seek the pool of the watery wonders. And 17, a cleric of the Dark One slumbers within a hidden temple, merely awaiting the opening of the doorway to be reawakened. And that is true. Interesting. Okay, and then last but not least, Thala. She also gets a 7 with her big luck modifier. 18, 20, 14. 18 says, the King of the Beastmen is a friend to elves. That is false. I don't know why you'd assume that's true. 20. Lizardmen are a superstitious group prone to outbursts of zealotry. That's true, and I would suspect that to be true. And 14. Buried with a dead king is a powerful but evil sword. Also true. Okay. Now, one thing I want to mention related to luck. I looked this up. It's weird, because the rulebook was not very clear at all on the nature of luck. And people were talking about it, and no one really... I don't know. It seemed like everyone just assumes, and that's just how it's run. And thinking back to my convention games, I think that is how it's run. Luck you can burn after you roll. I think this section could be worded better, but yeah, I can certainly see that interpretation. It says any character can permanently burn luck to give a one-time bonus to a roll. For example, you could burn 6 points of luck to get a +6 modifier on a roll, but your luck score is now 6 points lower. I think you can interpret that either way, but it seems like, yes, the general thought is you can apply it afterwards, which makes it a lot better. Hell of a lot better. So, remember, our thief can spend luck, and every point of luck is worth 1d3 bonus. And she gains 1 luck back every day. So we do want to spend that. Alright. Now, unlike a halfling, though, she can't give that luck to other people. So, yeah. But we'll want to keep that in mind. All right. So then there's a section on adventure hooks, although it says here, unlike most adventures, the impetus for exploration is left wholly to the players. There is no specific plot or action that unfolds to draw on the PCs. Very old school. It does offer a few adventure hooks, and I imagine this is not in the original. No. Doesn't really talk about that at all. Just goes straight into like random monster tables and stuff. It does have the random, the rumor table. But no, does not have adventure hooks. So this is something they came up with for the reprint. So some of them are that there have been raids from beastmen in the area. Obviously, the spirit of a Hama Dryad appears before the PCs. She gets rent apart by blows from unseen axes, and as she dies, she begs the players to save her sisters. A collector of antiquities offers the players 1,000 gold for a pristine suit of Thracian ceremonial armor. And serpent men of the Shadow Kingdom feel that the Minotaur King Stronghorn is gathering enough power to pose a threat to their operations in the area. The Shadow Kingdom sends a disguised emissary to convince him to undertake an expedition to the Caverns. There's also one that says, in a prior adventure, the PCs discovered a map of the ruins surrounding the entrances to the caverns. There are copious notes written in the margins listing potential treasures which lie beneath. That probably makes the most sense as far as our funnel that we did, because we did find a map leading to the Caverns of Thracia. So, obviously, we don't get a map of the caverns. Such a thing doesn't exist. As for the hook, yeah, I mean, it's basically just like, it sounds like there's a lot of treasure there, and we want treasures, so we're going for treasure. That's the old school way of doing things. It's this new school that's like, no, you need to save your village and do good things. And I mean, you know, like the one where it's, you know, collect a pristine suit of Thracian ceremonial armor. It's like, okay, you know, that's a good enough hook. I think, okay, let's say that we sold all those Thracian coins, and then like a week later, we found this Thracian collector, and we swear at ourselves and our stupidity. But they offer us 1,000 gold for a pristine suit of Thracian ceremonial armor, which honestly is not that much money in the grand scheme of things compared to how much other money we'll find in here. But sure, that's our hook. We're looking for a pristine suit of Thracian ceremonial armor. I don't even know if that's in the adventure, but I hope so. Okay. So that leads us to the start. All that remains of a once grand city are a series of ruins, now mostly hidden by thick jungle foliage that threatens to consume the city entirely. A morass of muddy swamp water filled with standing reeds, colorful aquatic plant life, and the occasional gurgle and bubble of something moving beneath water's surface edges close the ruins' western edge. The ruins are clearly of great age. A successful DC-15 intelligence check allows the party to estimate the structures are at least 8 centuries old, if not older. The buildings were once edifices of gleaming white stone, but these worked blocks of granite and marble are now mottled gray from age, and the clinging mosses, lichens, and vines that cover them. Okay. So you can see here the surface level. There's various ruined structures and things like that. It doesn't really say, I guess, where you come in. So I just picked this spot up here as for where we come in. And it does say at the start that players should have some sort of home base nearby that they can retreat to. Instead of just spending the entire campaign inside the dungeon. And if we were doing like a sandbox thing, of course, like this would all be set up. They would have some sort of village town nearby that they would work out of. And we would do like proper hex crawl, travel rules, and things like that. But honestly, there's nothing wrong if you're playing like a dungeon campaign. It's pretty okay to kind of just hand wave most of that crap, you know, and just be like, okay, if you make it out of the dungeon, you can make it to your little home base nearby, and we don't really worry about where it is or traveling back and forth. I mean, there might be situations that arise where that does matter more, in which case you can come up with it later. But yeah, I mean, just starting at the dungeon, you're here, just go. It's perfectly fine, I think. All right, so this is a little tricky because there's a couple hidden features related to this area, and I'm never quite sure how to do it when it's like an outdoor sort of map of like obscuring what the players can see and what they can't see. You could do it where you just put fog of war like basically everywhere but this little section where they are. It's not really realistic because they can obviously see through the trees. Like they could probably see this platform area over here and stuff like that. But like this specifically, this little structure, this is meant to be a secret that they have to find. And there's also a hole here that they have to find in order to see it. So I'd probably, if I was running this with the map, I'd probably just fog of war everything but around them and screw realism a little bit. I mean, I guess you could set it up where like every tree is a wall so that you could actually just like create a realistic line of sight thing, but yeah, I don't think most people are going to do that. Okay, so we can see then to our west, over here, we can see this structure. So I guess we'll approach that. So we have a map that sort of led us to this area. We know that there's something in this area, but we don't know any specific information beyond that. Adjacent to a surviving patch of cobblestone street, little remains of this ancient structure beyond a few ivy-covered walls in the process of being reclaimed by the surrounding jungle. Despite its relatively poor condition, the ruin looks to be solid and might well serve as a shelter should the need arise. Okay. There is little left besides the foundation and a couple of walls. It looks like a more full building than it actually is. But yeah, so it's just the foundation and some walls. It says there's a 30% chance of a random encounter at this point. So we'll roll a d10. Nope, no random encounter. Well, we're here to look around and try to find an entrance into the caverns, so we'll go in and poke around. A search of the premise reveals a tablet written in dwarf. See player handout number 1. Now, technically, I think Schmendrick gets a couple extra languages because of his intelligence modifier. I believe he gets 2 extra. No, 1 extra. I don't know why I thought it was 2. It does say 2. 2 additional language for every point of int modifier, as described in Appendix L. Here, under languages, it says wizards learn 1 additional language per point of int modifier. Oh, I see. Yes, yes. For each point of intelligence modifier, character knows 1 additional language. So he's the only one with a positive int modifier, but he gets 2 extra languages. I could pick dwarf. Yeah, fuck it. I'll just pick Elven and Dwarven. The classics. Because we don't have an elf or a dwarf in our party. So, alright. Yes, we can read this at least. There will be other things we can't read. I have to find this handout now. Okay. So, Schmendrick can read this this tablet. It says, I have verified that the entrance I discovered does indeed lead to the caverns below. The entrance is on the west side of a squat, dark building constructed of black stone. Okay. So now we're looking for a squat, dark building constructed of black stone. And that's all our search reveals, so we're going to move on. There's no other random encounters here. Unless it specifically says to roll for one. So then we go further south, and we see this sort of rectangular platform jutting out onto the swamp water. The air here is still, and not even the cries of jungle birds can be heard in this secluded jungle grotto. Little of the ancient building which stood here remains, merely a portion of the foundations which sit atop a small 5-foot rise. The ruins of the broken exterior walls give not the slightest hint of what this building may once have been. Okay. So... yeah, it's 5 feet up, this foundation. So we'd have to, like, climb up onto this thing, and we can't really see anything. I mean, we can see across the whole thing. It's just literally like a flat, ruined foundation. So I don't know if that would really be worth the trouble compared to this much more impressive thing to the south. Right. What was obviously once a building of great significance, perhaps even a temple to a now forgotten god, has long since fallen into ruin. Heaps of broken stonework dot the area. Trees emerge from mounds of rubble where portions of the roof have collapsed, and stairs rise from below to ascend a pedestal which once likely held some ritual significance. Okay. There is a 60% chance that a Knoll patrol is guarding this entrance. Alright, let's roll a d10. 9. Okay, so no. Says the stairs ascend onto a weathered pedestal that was once the base of a temple. Okay, so there are stairs to get up onto this platform. Yeah, I think there is. It's not really represented on the map, but I guess there is. Okay. We're still looking for this squat, dark building, though, so we're going to keep roaming around. And we come up to the hole. So I guess we'd see the hole. It's pretty obvious, actually. It's a 5-foot diameter hole. It's pretty big. Sometime in the distant past, a sinkhole opened up here, a 5-foot diameter hole above an indeterminate drop. The greenery around the hole has reestablished itself, with grasses and ivy providing relatively solid footing. The soil at the edge of the hole sharply slopes downwards, and the rushing of water can be heard from distantly below. So yeah, it is just a deep, dark hole that we probably don't want to fuck with, I would imagine. I mean, we could attach some ropes to the tree and climb down that way, but that seems like a really dumb way to enter the dungeon. But a little further to the south, we do see the squat building. Little light penetrates the tree cover here, lending an ominous feel. The crumbled remains of a small stone building litter the area. Visible amidst the debris is a choked stairway descending into the darkness. Alright, this set of stairs leads down to area 118. There is a tribal band lurking about here. They attack from ambush, gaining surprise in the first round if not otherwise detected. Okay. Well, this is certainly the building we'd want to approach. So, yes, this ambush. It consists of a ceremonial guard, a cleric of Thanatos, and 4 tribal warriors. Not the easiest fight we've ever seen. So how are they going to ambush us out of this place? Are they in the dungeon? I would imagine so. Okay, let me just look at a map of the first level of the dungeon. Okay, it's just a really long staircase into a narrow hallway. So I think the ambush might happen, like, beforehand. It's kind of vague. I'm not really sure. Can't picture this ambush too well. Because there's not much to the building. It says the crumbled remains of a small stone building. Visible amidst the debris is a choked stairway. So they're either going to ambush out of, like, the bushes nearby, or they're ambushing, like... I don't know. I can't really envision it. Okay, I can show you, I suppose. So that staircase is right here. And it leads to a long staircase that leads down to this very narrow hallway, and then, like, this bridge over the abyss and stuff. So I don't have a good picture of this ambush. I guess it could come out of the bushes, but it's also like, what the fuck are they doing sitting in the bushes all day? Okay, well, I guess let's repaint the picture a little bit. Let's assume we weren't too stealthy and we've been clomping around the bushes and stuff. And they do mill about on the stair, you know, sort of at the entryway to this building. It says, for 118, it says, this is the access route of the Priests of the Dark One when they come to perform their semi-monthly ceremonies here in the Holy of Holies. It's all kind of a little iffy here, but the module demands an ambush here, so we will do an ambush. Now, that leads us back to the surprise rules. It just says they gain surprise in the first round if not otherwise detected. It's pretty vague. Let's just go with the traditional surprise rules, I suppose. Which always seems really favorable to like the non-surprisers. Like a 33% chance of being surprised seems low. But those are the classic rules, you know, that's how it worked. That's how people did it. How people still do it. So I guess let's roll. Okay, we do get surprised, which is pretty bad for us, actually. Because that means that that's quite the ambush. Ceremonial Guard, the Cleric, and 4 Tribal Warriors all get the drop on us. This could be a TPK very, very quickly. Alright. So the marching order is Gorso up front, followed by Basilicus, followed by Schmendrick, followed by Thala. So we're gonna have them leap out at us. We're gonna have 2 of the Tribal Warriors attack Gorso, 2 of the Tribal Warriors attack Basilicus. The Ceremonial Guard is going to attack Gorso, and the Cleric of Thanatos is going to cast Paralysis on Schmendrick. Okay? Alright, so the Ceremonial Guard on Gorso. He has a +3 with his longsword. He fumbled. Gorso gets to immediately counterattack. He crits. Okay. Well, that's a very good start, isn't it? So he rolled just a 3 on crit table 1. Well, shouldn't he be on... He should be on crit table 3. He's a level 1 warrior. Crit table 3. And that's his crit die? Are we certain of that? No, he gets a D12. You did not roll a D12, you rolled a D4. I need to adjust all these. D12. The Cleric rolls on crit table 3 with a D8. So, see, that's good. The Wizard, probably not changing, really. Oh, no, it's a 1D6. A little better. And the Thief. 1D10 on crit table 2. Okay, so we're going to re-roll the crit die. Alright, it was a 5 on crit table 3. These would be... Do I have bookmarks? I do. Okay. So 5, smash foe's nose in an explosion of blood. Inflict plus 1d6 damage with this strike. Foe loses his sense of smell for 1d4 hours. Okay, so we did 7 damage plus 2, so 9 damage. The guard has 10 hit points, so that is actually not enough for a kill. And I didn't declare a mighty deed, so it is what it is. Well, wait a minute. Don't we add the deed die to damage? Yes, and I think that's what I didn't add to this. Yeah. Let me just roll that again just to see. Yes. Okay. Now it works. Oh, no, it did add it. Right. No, okay, no, it already did add it. Never mind. Yeah, because he doesn't have a normal bonus of any kind. Yeah, no, that's what the 1d3 is. Yeah, okay. No, that's all fine. All right, so the ceremonial guard's at 1 hit point. Then the tribal warriors are attacking, so they also have +3 on their spears. So against Gorso, that is a 14 and a 7. Both are misses. Against Basilicus, crit and 13. So one of them is a hit. They roll on crit table 3 with a d6. I don't think crits automatically do anything else of like extra damage or anything. Yeah, you just get the nice crit bonus. So he's going to roll his damage of d8. So 4 damage. And then he rolls a d6 on the crit table, which is a 3. Foe steps into attack, inflict plus 1d8 damage. So that's 4. That puts us down to 1 on Basilicus. That's pretty bad. Cleric of Thanatos, casting Paralysis. That is a cleric spell, of course. Blah, blah, blah. He gets +4 to his spell check. We're gonna roll a d20 +4. It's 12. Okay, so he's basically just charged his hands with paralysis. I don't know if that's the most effective thing he could have cast, I suppose. He could have cast Bolt from the Blue. Yeah, that would have been pretty nasty. He probably should have opened with that instead, but I did what I did. Alright, so that was the surprise round. Now we roll initiative. They have a +1. Well, I probably should be rolling more individually at this point, rather than just side-based. Yeah, I suppose I should. Which is annoying, because it's kind of tough for me to keep track in my head, and I'd have to set up these encounters. Which means I'd have to add tokens for everything. And I'm not really inclined to do that, so I might just open a notepad. Whoops. Okay. All right. Let's roll. So let's roll everyone's initiative. Token already has an initiative score in the... Okay. No, I don't want to... Just... Don't do that. Just roll initiative. It won't do it. Okay, then we'll just do it manually. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Abysmal. Silicus gets 5. Shemendrick gets 4. Gorso gets 10, I think. 11. And Thala gets 12. Okay. And we've got the Ceremonial Guard. He gets 13, so he already goes first. Cleric of Thanatos gets 12. And the Tribal Warriors get 10. Not looking good. Okay, so the Guard. I feel like he might roll a morale check here. He did almost die from one hit from Gorso, so I could see him fleeing. He has a +1 will. He definitely failed. So he's going to run back down into the complex. That's it for him. We'll remove him. Next would be Thala or the Cleric at 12. I don't know if it ever mentions ties. Ties are broken by highest agility score, then by highest hit dice. So agility for Thala is 10. For the Cleric, unknown. I have no idea. So we'll say ties go to players just to be nice. So Thala has an opportunity here to do something. Everything's in melee, so we don't really want to shoot. So I guess we do some knifing. Yeah, I don't think you can really backstab in combat. Not likely. Yeah, she's just not a very good character, is she? Probably gonna die and we're gonna have to replace her, but yeah, I guess she'll take out the short sword and go to work on one of the tribal warriors. And that is a miss. So that's it for Thala. The Cleric is going to... He used paralysis, so he kind of wants to successfully hit something this turn to actually paralyze them. So he's going to try to hit... oh, I don't know. Thala, I guess. This little halfling that jumped in with a short sword. Looks like an easy target, and almost certainly is. He gets +2 on his attacks, so that's a 13. I don't think we can burn luck to avoid a hit. I think it's only on your rolls. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, give a one-time bonus to a roll. A bonus to a roll. We don't want any bonuses to any roll here, and we want a bonus like our armor class. But there's just nothing I can do. So that is a hit for D6 damage for 4. So she's down now to 0. According to the rules here for death and dying, a first level character reaches 0 hit points, collapses, and begins bleeding out. Such a character has 1 round in which he can be healed to prevent his death. For each level past the first, character has 1 more round of bleeding before he's permanently killed. Character that was bleeding out but was saved suffers permanent physical trauma from his near-fatal injuries. Suffers a permanent loss of 1 point of stamina. Thala only has fucking 3 stamina. Jesus. Okay, so she's down. Her paralysis doesn't really matter too much. Next would be Gorso at 11. Now, the Mighty Deed die doesn't really let us do, like, multiple hits or anything. You know, you can't do, like, a cleave or something. We can do most likely blinding attacks, disarming attacks, pushback attacks, trips and throws, precision shots, which I think is just with ranged attacks. No, not necessarily. Yeah. So I guess that's probably like the most basic, easy one. If you never want to think about it too much, you can always just say that you're aiming for the neck. And if you roll like a 3 on your deed die, you could do an extra 1d4 damage at the judge's discretion. I guess that's the easiest way to do it. Alright, fuck it, we'll do it that way. So he's going to aim for one of the tribal warriors, and he's going to aim for their neck. Okay, that is very much a miss. That was an abysmal roll. 7 + 1. So that is a big miss. I'd have to burn... I'd have to burn 5 luck to make that hit. And that's probably not worth it. So I guess that's that. And that leaves the tribal warriors to go. So they're gonna... 2 of them are targeting Gorso. Both miss. And then 2 are targeting Basilicus. Both miss, thank God. Alright, then that is Basilicus's turn. If he wants to save Thala's life, he has to run over to her and use Lay on Hands. I don't know if that's really worth his time. Possibly not. But I hate to, you know, we hate to lose a character, so sure, he's gonna go over and use Lay on Hands. So I got a 16. Which means that, yeah, we basically heal 1 hit die. So I roll a d6. 4. So you're back at 2. You also lose a point of stamina. Permanently. You're down to 2. Horrific. That's all Basilicus can really do, unfortunately. And he's at 1 health himself. And if he goes down, we're fucked. So it's up to Schmendrick the Magician to really pull out some grand wizardry shit. I guess probably Flaming Hands could be it. Or I could cast Animal Summoning, which would also affect the Cleric's ability to cast spells. But it really shuts down Schmendrick for the rest of the fight. And... what would we get out of that? Like a 2-hit dice animal? Like a bat or something? Yeah, I guess a giant vampire bat. A warhorse is 4d8 hit points? That's crazy. dire wolf, maybe. It's not bad. I mean, that's assuming that that's what I get, right? It's a mundane animal. You get 1 hit dice or 2 hit dice. Yeah, I mean, it could be pretty valuable. But would I rather just cast Flaming Hands? I know it's a 2d10, so our options aren't going to be great. And doing 1d6 damage isn't really spectacular. If we could manage to get a 20 to 23, I could spell burn, but I don't have that much to spell burn. I could spell burn like 6 strength, I guess, but it seems rough to do that in the first fucking fight. Sleep is just too questionable. Like, it's... we have to roll a d14. So the best possible result we could get is like... what, a fucking 16? So 2 targets to fall asleep. Yeah. It's mostly between Animal Summoning and Flaming Hands. Looking at the Tribal Warriors, they have 8 hit points, 7 hit points, 6 hit points, 4 hit points. So I might be able to roast one of them. Which I guess is probably the best I can hope for. Kind of curious about Animal Summoning and what people recommend for that. Oh yeah, we need a material component. That's right, we don't have that. Alright, Flaming Hands it is. They're gonna roll 2d10. We got 7, which means that we lose it and it fails. Great. Awesome job, Schmendrick. Okay, new round. It goes to Thala, who's on the ground. I guess she'll scramble up and try to stab one of the Tribal Warriors. Got a lot of good it'll do. Oh, wow. Okay, so she does hit, and depending on which one she hits, she gets a kill. So let's say she gets a kill. Nice. Good job, Thala. So we're down to 3 Tribal Warriors. She's going to scamper back then into, like, the brush, because she's too vulnerable. Cleric of Thanatos is going to... I don't see why he wouldn't cast Bolt from the Blue. So he's going to cast Bolt from the Blue on Gorso. And again, he gets +4 to the roll. He rolled an 8. All right, excellent. So he fails. That is a tough one to cast, actually. You gotta hit a 16 or higher. That's a high-end spell. Yeah, it's a level 3. Okay, so he burned that. He failed. Excellent. Next is Gorso. So Gorso is gonna go for the neck of one of these other Tribal Warriors. Alright, he does hit. He does do 9 damage, so we'll say he kills the biggest one. So there's a 7 hit point one and a 4 hit point one left. I think at this point they're going to have to roll morale. They've lost 3 out of the 6 they started with. So the Tribal Warriors +1 will. They fail. Is that a group check? Oh, you actually roll when the first creature is slain, and when half the creatures have been killed or incapacitated. Interesting. I think you roll individually. So that was one of the Tribal Warriors fleeing. Second one. 11 or higher is a success. So the second one does succeed, but if the cleric flees, he'll also flee. The cleric hits +2 and does succeed. Okay, so we'll say the 4 hit point warrior, the weakling, also runs into down the stairs. So we have one tribal warrior and the cleric, who has 30 fucking hit points. Alright. So that was Gorso's turn. Now it's the tribal warrior who's going to swing at Gorso. Ooh, he does hit on that. Yep. He gets a D8 on a spear. 8 fucking damage. Jesus. Ouch. Okay, that's painful. Next is Basilicus, who's going to heal himself with Lay on Hands. 15. So he gets back, yeah, why didn't you write the hit dice for everybody? That would be good. He gets a D8. Schmendrick, I think, does get a D4. That's correct. And the thief is a D6. Okay. Yeah, -1. I don't know why I rolled that. 6 is what we want. Okay. So that was Basilicus' turn, and then Schmendrick. Fuck it. Sleep. Roll a D14. Okay, so 9 + 2 is 11. I think that's still a failure. Schmendrick is a terrible fucking magician. Let it be known. Yep. He fails that as well. Okay. Those mercurial effects, man, are kind of brutal. I mean, he could have rolled a 9 with a D20. It just... Yeah, he's just not a very good mage. Shame. Alright, back to the top. That's Thala then. She's going to pop out. Not for a backstab or anything, but she's going to try to kill this tribal warrior. She can't. He has 7 hit points, but she might weaken him a little bit. Short sword. That is a hit, yes. So it brings him down to 4 damage, 4 hit points. Okay, cleric's gonna go. He also has Snake Charm as a spell. Yeah, he could charm some snakes to come out of the area. I mean, we're in the jungle. There's probably a good amount of snakes in the area. So that could be pretty bad. Alright, he'll try to cast it. It's got +4. Yes, he rolled a 20. Nearby snakes submit to the cleric as their master. They obey the cleric's bidding and fight on his behalf. The range is 100 feet. The effect takes hold automatically on mundane snakes up to 3 hit dice. Well, this gets a lot more complicated, doesn't it? Yeah, I'd have to pull out a different monster manual, I think. Which I guess I could pull out the axe one. I don't know if that actually has stats for... It's like a mundane snake. Well, I'm sure it has snakes, but... like big snakes. Giant constricting viper, king cobra... python... sea snake... spitting cobra... viper. Okay. I think vipers are probably... fair game. So I guess it's a question of how many there is. It says wilderness encounter solitary 1. So we'll say he gets 1. I think that's good enough. So okay, there's a viper in the midst now. He'll enter into combat the next round. And his initiative is gonna be I don't have stats for that. Probably like a 7. Okay. Great. Next would be Gorso on the last tribal warrior. Spear him. Not quite enough to kill him. It is a hit, though. We didn't succeed on the mighty deed. So, yeah. He's just very, very injured, and he might flee at this point. It's his turn. He's going to roll. He still is standing strong. He's going to attack Gorso. He misses. Next would be Basilicus, who's probably going to heal Gorso. I think that might be the best bet. Or I could try to, use Word of Command. Yeah, I could try and get the cleric to kill himself. So you get a +4 bonus to the will save to resist. Fuck it, I still think that's the best bet. Alright, I'm going to try to Word of Command and have the cleric commit suicide. D20 +4. That's a 16. Yep. So look at the cleric and I say suicide. And so now he gets a will save. He has a +2, so it's a +6. And the number he's got to beat is 16. So he's got a pretty good odds of shrugging this off. He fails! Huzzah! It's so OP. Okay, so that'll be on his next turn. He's going to commit suicide. Schmendrick's then going to go. Schmendrick has practically nothing left. I guess he'll go up and try and smack the tribal warrior with a longsword. And he kills him. Excellent. Nicely done, Schmendrick. Hell of a wizard. Fail all your spell casting and then kill a guy with a longsword. I guess I could have used the Wand of Magic Missiles too. Alright. Then it's a new round. Thala's up. I mean, technically the guy's gonna kill himself. So I don't think we have to do anything. Although I'm very curious on people's, like, rulings for something like that. On if the suicide is just, you're dead. Yeah, I don't know. Not a lot of discussion. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have ever really thought about it, but the thing specifically calls out that you can use a command of suicide. So fuck it. I guess it's up to the I guess it's not necessarily an auto kill, right? I think you could argue that if they have any sort of bladed weapon, like a slitting of the throat is pretty, you know, narratively it's pretty final. But this cleric only has a mace or spells, so I think he's just gonna like mace himself in the face. Which is... Yeah, I mean, got 30 hit points. It's only a 1d6. And he has to obey that for 1d6 plus caster level rounds. Okay, so 6 rounds he has to just mace himself in the face. Basically, I guess I'd just say it's like an auto hit on himself for 1d6 damage. I mean, I could make it an auto crit, but that seems like maybe a bit much. But I guess he is kind of helpless. He's not defending himself in any way, so he is sort of helpless. So I guess, yeah, I could say an auto crit. Right, so it's Thala's turn. The word of command doesn't get broken or anything by them being attacked or anything like that. It doesn't mention any part of that. So they just have to mindlessly obey this command for the next 6 rounds. So yeah, Thala is just going to shoot him with her bow for now. Crit! And she rolled a fucking 12. How is that even possible? Oh, because it's modified by luck. That's right. So a 12 on crit table 2. 4 points of damage and 12 crit. Savage Strike. Foe must succeed on a Fortitude save, DC 10 plus PC level, or faint from the pain. Jeez. He has a +2 Fortitude, so it's versus 11. Okay, he succeeds. Alright, well then ultimately it does nothing, right? It's just 4 damage. So he's at 26 hit points. The Cleric goes. He's going to auto crit himself. So he does 4 more damage, down to 22. And a D10. He rolls a 2 on crit table 3. And he sweeps himself off of his feet. So he's on the ground now, which is pretty good. Okay, this shouldn't be too much trouble. The Viper is still going to come in. He has no reason not to. So we'll see. It's Gorso's turn. We get a +2 to the roll because he's prone. So Gorso is going to stab him in the spear in the throat. Okay. Well, that's a very big miss. We rolled a 4. Damn. Damn. Not much we can do about that. So now the Viper is going to come in. And it's going to try to bite Basilicus. Now I have to try to convert this over. So... yeah, basically, like, I'd give a +1 to attack. And it was 1d4 damage plus poison. You have to make a death saving throw. If you fail, you die of poison 1d4 plus 2 turns later. Which is a Fortitude saving throw in our case. Alright, so it's a 1d20 plus 1 against Basilicus. That's a miss. Okay, so the Viper is in play. But it missed Basilicus. And it is now Basilicus' turn. So he's got this Viper on him. I think we might know that it was summoned and controlled by the thing, by the Cleric. So it might go away if we kill the Cleric. But I probably could just kill the Viper. He's got 9 hit points and a 13 AC. The Warhammer might get the job done. Or I could use Word of Command on it to just try to send it packing. I'll just swing the Warhammer. Miss. Okay. Schmendrick. He'll go after the Viper with his longsword. Okay, that is a hit for 3 points of damage, so it's at 6. The Vipers are bigger concern right now, because the guy is just going to keep sitting on the ground, laying on the ground and smashing his mace into his face. So it's a new round. Thala is going to Try to stab the Viper. Okay, well, that killed it. Awesome. Just cut off its head. Alright, well, that frees up the rest to just wail on this cleric. And I think we probably could just say he's dead. He really can't do anything for another 5 rounds. He maces himself in the face for 1 more damage. So he's at 21 damage, I think. And he's gonna roll his crit table, which is just a 1. Yeah, that's an extra 1d6 damage. Okay, so he's at 18 damage now. Or 18 health. Gorso is gonna try to stab him in the throat with a spear. Very nice. That is definitely a hit. Not a success on this the throat. But 6 more. It brings him down to 12. Basilicus is going to Warhammer him. That is a crit. So that's 9 more damage. So he's down to 9 hit points. And we rolled a 3. Or we rolled a 9 on the crit table 3. Plus 2d6 damage. We splinter his femur. Okay, that's enough to kill him. Basilicus came in and just destroyed his body. And that is a victory. Okay. Hot dog. Our first victory and no one died. Our first combat, no one died. So each encounter is worth 0 to 4 XP. A typical encounter is worth 2. To go from level 1 to 2, we need 40 XP. So we're technically at 10 XP right now. I guess, yeah, it's a standard encounter. I don't know why it would be any different, so we'll take 2 XP. That means that to go from level 1 to 2, you need about 20 standard encounters. That seems like a lot. But again, it's yeah, successfully surviving encounters. I guess that's another thing I'd be curious to just kind of read people's thoughts on it. I just award XP at the end of each session. If I forget, I tell people what they earned at the start of the next session. Four XP means the encounter was potentially fatal to the party. That's every fucking encounter. I could have easily been wiped out here. I guess we did get ambushed. If a party runs away from a pack of monsters that will very likely kill them, they earn 4 XP. Teaches players to be smart. This person, some other podcast. To level up, you need to survive a number of sessions of the level you're going to. So to go from 2nd to 3rd level, you need to survive 3 sessions at 2nd level. That is a very simple way of doing milestone leveling, I suppose. So for our purposes, then, the problem with that is, I guess I could do it that way. I do technically do like sessions of videos, but I don't know, it's hard to say. I think normally for a normal group, that is a pretty nice way of doing it. Every encounter they survive, skip, bypass, win, lose, etc., I toss a D3 in a bowl. Next visit to town, my players pick someone who had the most epic moment this session. They get to roll the bowl and add up the XP everyone gained. So that averages out to 2 XP per encounter anyways. person does 10 gold is 1 XP. Yeah, I mean, I guess I probably would just adapt Tales of Argosa's XP system anyways, which is similar. I mean, it's not based specifically around surviving encounters. You also get XP for finding treasure, for social encounters, for completing sort of quests, various things like that. I think it always should be a bit of a loose system, unless you're doing very strict like gold as XP. So I think because this one was an ambush that we survived successfully and killed most of them, I'm gonna give 3 for this one. As for loot, not much. The tribal warriors all had leather armor, shields, and spears. The ceremonial guard we didn't kill. He fled with 1 hit point, which is annoying because he had ceremonial plate armor, which would have been awesome. The cleric we did kill. He's got a mace, a stone mace. He's got chainmail armor. And that's kind of it. It doesn't mention anything else that he's carrying or has on him. So yeah, nothing. Not much loot to be had. Okay. So how are we situated? I don't think Basilicus has failed a spell yet, so that's good. Schmendrick has failed 2 of his main combat spells. So we're looking mostly at like force manipulation in the future, which gives him maybe the ball of force to throw, or the floating disc, or maybe the tower shield, which is an immobile buff of +4 AC, which is pretty nice, but yeah. And then there's animal summoning, which is possibly my best thing that I really should rely on the most. Because like a 2-hit dice mundane animal is that viper. Like that's a 2-hit dice. Or the spitting cobra is a 1-hit dice creature. I could have a few of those maybe. Actually, yeah, the spitting cobra should be +1 on tax. The viper should have been +2. I think axe. I think that's how I usually interpret it. So the spitting cobra can spit for 1d3 damage plus poison or blindness. Oh, spit deals no damage. Creature must make a death saving throw. If they fail, the creature is permanently blinded. That's a pretty handy thing to summon, I would say. Because I would guess in DCC, blindness is not a very pleasant trait. Blinded. Well, so we get +2 on our attack rolls against a blinded target. Surely there's some massive penalties for the attacker being blind. I guess I'd resort to whatever Axe says. Unless it's in the Mighty Deed die. Blinding attacks. Here, completely blinded for 1d4 rounds. Flails about with wild attacks, suffering a -8 penalty to attack rolls. Can move only in a random direction at half speed. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we'll just use that. Okay. Yeah, so animal summoning could be really good. It's basically the only spell he's going to cast for that combat, but that's all he needs to cast. Yeah, okay. I think we're gonna do another lay in hands on Gorso. 14. So that is gonna be well, it doesn't, yeah, we're level 1, so he gets D12 of hit points back. 2. Okay, we'll do it again. That is a failure. So now our disapproval range goes up to 1 to 2. But we can just do it again. Like, we don't lose the spell or anything. Okay, that's another D12 back. 5. That puts him at 12. I think that's pretty solid. Yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that for now. Okay. Now we would theoretically go down this way, although we know that there's more of these very angry, hostile cultists, because a couple of them ran down that way, which means there's probably an ambush waiting for us. It would behoove us not to go this way, or at least maybe wait for a while. We could wait and set our own ambush at the entrance here. Yeah, we could. I mean, we're not under any timetable of any kind here. So we could just, like... Well, if you camp out, that's not much of an ambush. So we'd have to literally, like, be, like, sitting in the bushes for hours, hoping that something comes out of there that we can jump. It's an easy thing to just say, you know, when you're playing a game like this. And you're like, yeah, we're just gonna sit in the bush for, like, 8 hours. But, like, if you actually think about how awful that would be... Especially we're in like a jungle environment with snakes and mosquitoes and it's like fucking terrible. I'm just trying to think about if I was running for my family and they said like, we're just going to sit in the bushes and wait for, you know, we're going to ambush anything that comes out. It's like, would I do anything mechanically? Would I penalize them or do something like that for this stakeout? I guess usually what you do is like a random encounter check, but there's very specifically not random encounters here. I guess you could do it with like fortitude saves, like every 4 hours you do a fortitude save, and if you fail, it's just like your character refuses to sit there anymore. Like they are going to get up. The problem with that is usually you don't like to take away player agency. I mean, my family doesn't care if I take away their agency. They never have in the past, but I would care. But I suppose in that case, I don't know if I could argue with it. Like it does sound really fucking miserable. All right, let's do 1 4-hour wait. So let's do 1 4-hour wait. We'll do an oracle question to see if another party of these cultists come out. If not, then I would either move on or demand a fortitude check. So we'll wait in ambush here. The question is, does some group of cultists come out from that staircase? Yes. Okay. Now the well, I guess the question is, how many come out? That's a good question. There is sort of predefined sets of like random groups. I think that's mostly for gnolls and lizardmen. Yeah, I don't think there's random groups of cultists wandering around. So I could look further into the dungeon to see what would be waiting in ambush if we went down there, because there definitely would be. There's a couple more ceremonial guards in a couple spots. Yeah, there's a good number of ceremonial guards. Alright, let's say 2 of those come out. That might be a little light. I don't know. Alright, 2 ceremonial guards and 3 tribal warriors. That's what comes out. Now, it's only fair, I suppose, we follow the same surprise rules, right? Which, again, all seem to very favor the surprised group. So we're gonna roll a d6. On a 1 or a 2, we get a surprise round. Okay, we don't. So even though we waited in ambush for 4 hours, maybe we were scratching our ass from a mosquito bite or something, and they just noticed us. So it's straight up combat again. We gotta re-roll all this. Okay, Basilicus gets a 13. Schmendrick gets a 16. Very nice. Gorso gets a 11. Thala gets an 18. Damn, we did roll well. Maybe that's where our ambush paid off. Ceremonial Guards rolled a 1. And the Tribal Warriors rolled a 7. Which is an 8. Okay, well, this is very good for us. Thala goes first. She's gonna fire. Well, yeah, you could argue a. She might not necessarily be noticed, because we can give her instead a hide in shadows check. Base DC for sneaking down a hallway with moderate cover is DC 10. Hiding at night or in shaded or dimly lit areas DC 5. Hiding under a full moon is DC 10. So I think the DC here would be pretty easy with all this jungle coverage and stuff. So I'm going to set the DC at like 8. Oh, nice. Okay, so she's going to sneak up to one of the tribal warriors. And she's going to try to roll backstab. So, well, she's doing a backstab. She gets +0 to her attack roll, but it's just a normal attack. But if we hit, it's an automatic crit. And with the knife, the dagger, it's a D10. So that's what we're rolling. Okay, well, that's not a hit, because they have AC 13. So, I could burn luck, though. I could burn luck, and I really should. We need 3 more, so I'm going to burn 2 points of luck. So that adds 2d3. You gotta be shitting me. That's unlikely, to say the least. I wouldn't necessarily know their armor class. And I also don't know, I don't think you can add luck and then add luck again. It's a one-time bonus. So we burned luck and still fucking failed. This is really unfortunate. But yeah, she missed. It's done. It's over. Next would be Schmendrick. Schmendrick is gonna summon an animal. He failed and loses the spell. God damn it, Schmendrick. Worst mage to ever exist. Okay, fine. He's down now for the count. Next would be Basilicus. So we could do some paralysis. We could do some blessing. Some word of command. We could do, I mean, we can do all sorts of stuff. Word of command, if I get 20 to 23, no, we have to get 24 to 27 to get multiple. Paralysis doesn't really do anything this round unless I get a 20 to 23. Blessing is probably the best bet. Or Holy Sanctuary. That's if I really want to protect Basilicus. I guess we'll do Word of Command on one of the ceremonial guards. That might be our best bet. So D20 plus 4. Very nice. 22 total. Okay. So he has to roll a will save, which is plus... We're going to do suicide, of course. So plus 5 versus 22. He failed. So he has to try to commit suicide for the next 40 minutes. I think he's done. I think we can just scratch him off the list. Okay. So then, lastly, Gorso is going to try to stab the other ceremonial guard in the throat. Okay, well, we rolled a 3 for the D die, but we did miss completely. We rolled a 2. So that's a no-go. Alright, then the tribal warriors are going to go. And there is 4 of them, so... yeah, that's what it is. I think 2 of them are going to attack Gorso. One of them is going to attack Basilicus, and one of them is going to attack Thala, the one that she tried to stab in the back. So against Thala, he rolls a 9, which is a miss. Against Basilicus, he crits. That's not good. He does 4 damage, and he rolls a d6 on crit table 3. That's actually not a good result, because that's like just an extra d6 damage or something. Yeah, an extra d6 damage. 5, so that's 9 damage total. Basilicus is down. I don't think we have any way of healing him. So I think this is Ubar. I mean, how would I heal him? There's no, I don't have healing potions or anything. We have 1 healer, and he died. And that's really a bummer, because he's by far the best character we had. Fuck. There's nothing you can do about that. I mean, he crit. That's just how it is. I can't... You can't luck your way out of that. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Damn. Damn. And then there were 2 attacking Gorso. One of which hit. D8. Okay. And then the ceremonial guard finally gets to go, and he will also attack Gorso. And misses. New round. Thala is going to try to stab one of these tribal warriors. Misses. Schmendrick can't pass shit for dick. So I guess he'll just swing at a tribal warrior with his sword. And he kills one. Okay. Gorso's still going to try for this ceremonial warrior. He does 6 points of damage, which is pretty good. He's got 10 hit points total, so down to 4. Tribal warriors, one on Thala, one on Schmendrick, one on Gorso. On Thala, that's a hit. She's down. Dead. On Schmendrick, that is a hit. He's also dead. Okay. That's a TPK coming. And on Gorso, that is also a hit. Down to 4. And then the ceremonial guard is going to try to stab Gorso. Miss. Technically, they probably would have done a morale check after the first one died there. Schmendrick killed one. So they probably all would have done something, but I don't know if it's going to change the result too much. Gorso is going to try to finish off this ceremonial guard. Nope, not that roll. There you go, crit. He does finish him off. Through the neck. I guess the Tribal Warriors would probably do a morale check. There's 3 remaining. 2 remaining. 3? How many did I send in? I thought I sent in 3. So I guess there's 2 remaining. First one fails, second one succeeds. So the one remaining guy is going to try to stab Gorso. Succeeds. Kill. And that's it, TPK. I waited in ambush, and I got TPK'd. Yeah. Now, had I not done old school surprise rules, and I just did it logically, like, I don't know, yeah, I don't like it. If nothing else, DCC does prove as to why I like Tales of Argosa a lot more. I like just a bit more codified things. DCCs are just a bit too old school, but also just kind of strange old school. My favorite part of DCC is by far the magic system. By far. I don't know if it's enough that I would want to just steal DCC's magic and take it over to Tales of Argosa. But it also wouldn't be the worst thing to do in the world, because I really do like the magic. It's somewhat similar to Shadow Dark, I think, where you can potentially cast spells over and over throughout a day without losing them, which is a big, huge buff compared to like actual old school D&D. And Tales of Argosa is somewhat similar, and I don't even use that magic system. I use axe magic, but I rejigger it a little bit. So the way that I run it, you can use magic multiple times throughout the day as long as you do encounters. I think where using DCC's system a little bit, where it can shine, is like out of combat. You can theoretically use magic a lot out of combat. Again, like Shadow Dark. Whereas using axe magic with Tales of Argosa, and the way that is set up, you kind of have to keep doing encounters and succeeding in encounters to get short rests in order to get your spells back. So I suppose if I was playing, I probably would prefer like DCC or Shadow Dark, where I can just keep spamming magic over and over because I love magic. But yeah, I guess you probably could take DCC's magic and throw it into Tales of Argosa. But I don't know how it would interact with the short rest system. Like, I feel like you'd have to throw that out the window, and that's probably not a good idea. Whereas by using axe magic, I can maintain that system, so it maintains some balance with the rest of the classes. But But yeah, I mean, the magic is by far my favorite part of this system. But I don't know how much I care for the rest of the rules. I mean, they're okay. It's serviceable. Like, I could certainly, like, run a campaign with DCC, and it probably could be fun, but... especially for solo, I just feel like I have a lot better options. If this is sounding very final, I guess it is. I really didn't expect the TPK before we even got into the dungeon, but I think that's really indicative of just, like, the lethality of this system. Like, yeah. Like, had Basilicus not gone down, it would have been no problem. Like, if your cleric is still up, he can just lay on hands again and again. And, you know, everyone is perfectly fine. But as soon as your cleric is down, you're fucked. You're game over. Throw in the towel. And it's just the nature of, like having such a swingy D20 system. It's so old school in such a negative way, you know? Like, yeah, you have luck that you can burn, I guess, sort of, as like a last-ditch thing, but you can only burn it on rolls that you make. So, you know, if the enemy's crit, you're just fucked. You're in Fucktown, and not in the good one. And that can happen in Tales of Argosa as well, or Shadow Dark or something. I mean, these are all fairly lethal systems, but I don't know. I think if I had run this same thing with 4 Tales of Argosa characters, I think we would have been perfectly fine. Because there you can do major exploits. I could have been cleaving through multiple targets. You know, we have a lot more hit points. You get short rests. All that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hate DCC, but I'm also never, like... It's never at the forefront of, like, when I'm thinking of a system to, like, run for a game or something. It's never like, oh, I should do DCC. It's just always kind of there in the distance. It's always, like, a solid 3rd or 4th place option. And I think that's true for probably a lot of people. Like, it doesn't get mentioned that much in discussions when talking about, especially, like, the OSR. It's not really an OSR game, even though it kind of somewhat started the OSR of, like, going back and rejuvenating these old school style of games. Yeah, it's got some pros, it's got some cons. I am tempted, of course, now to... I've done this in the past, but I'm tempted to now do Caverns of Thracia, but with, like, Shadow Dark or Tales of Argosa. And just kind of see the difference there immediately. I might end up doing that, we'll see. But I think I'm going to leave it off here. Yeah, I mean, I know Caverns of Thracia is pretty lethal. I know DCC is a pretty lethal system, so I guess I can't say I'm too surprised, but damn, I thought I'd get down into the dungeon first. Anyways, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. I'll see you fine folks next time.